Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are here tonight with Don Griffith, DTM and past international director. Don has been doing a fabulous job with the District 3 YouTube channel. And just a few weeks ago, he shared how to put your videos on YouTube to help your club be successful. Well, we got a lot of questions after that video. And that question was, how do we edit them? I mean, we take the videos, then how do we make it so it works? What do we do? What styles we do? So tonight, Dom's going to go over how to edit your videos like a pro. Now, we welcome questions. We really do. We have both a chat and a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So please drop questions in those. And when Don asks, I'll be passing your questions on to him so we can get all those answers you need. And with that, I am going to pass it off to the amazing Don Griffith.
Thank you, Karen. Well, welcome everyone, and all those who are watching this on a tape delay. My name is Don Griffith, and I've been doing video for Toastmasters for about 5 years now. And part of doing video is editing. It's something that you can learn. It's a topic that you can spend years perfecting. For what you are doing in your clubs, you don't need to be a super expert. You don't need the super duper best editing software. You don't need to know all the tricks that the movie producers have. But there are some basic things you can do, and we need to think about why we want to do it. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm going to put up my PowerPoint slides. And there we go. You should see edit videos like a pro. One of the first things we always should ask when we start out to do something is why. Start with why. Why would you want to edit your videos? We already answered a question in that first session on YouTube about why you should have a video on YouTube. And by the way, YouTube is just one place to put videos. You could have videos on your website, other social media. Why a video is not really the question, but why do you want to edit the video? And I think the answers are pretty straightforward. You want to put your best face forward. You want the audience, whoever that is, to see the best example of what your club is doing. Now, what is your content? Mostly you're going to be having your members speak, and they're going to have been recorded in some kind of fashion. Today, we're not going to talk about what kind of camera to use, what kind of microphone to use. That's all very fun to talk about, and I'd love to get in it with you. But we're going to talk about how to take that video and make it the best you can so that when you do publish it and put it out there, people will like what they see and they'll be informed by it. So one of the questions you might ask is, well, what are the kind of things that editors do? And when I say editors, I mean the person and the tool. The right-hand side of your screen right now is showing a screen from a video editor. The purple and the green on top, those are the video clips of some sort of movie or video. The green represents the sound, the audio. And what they're showing there is a pretty complicated, what I call a timeline. Left to right, time is moving, and the pictures and the sound are going. You won't have nearly as complicated of a timeline. But what are some of the things we do? Well, you fix and adjust the video. The video is the picture. The audio is the sound. And both of those sometimes need a little help to look better and sound better. The editor trims, cuts, and rearranges the clips, the recordings you take. Sometimes you want to do them in a different order. Sometimes you want to change when it starts and stops. Those are very standard things and very easy to do. Sometimes you want to put in a transition between one part of a video and another. It can be no transition at all, just a quick cut, or it can be something that's more gradual or something creative. You could add special effects, music, and you can colorize. Colorization on videos is more like color correction. If you have a recording that uses multiple cameras, for instance, those two cameras will see the scene slightly differently depending on how they're set up. So there's a way to fix the color so it looks good across the entire video. So those are some of the things that you do as an editor. Before we go on and talk about a process flow, I want to remind you that Toastmasters has some rules about video. Now that long link, I don't expect you to memorize that or write it down. It will be in the show notes when this is put up on YouTube. But that is a full-page description of your responsibilities using Toastmaster video. It talks about use of the logo. It has a disclaimer text that basically says this is not a Toastmasters International video. We don't claim it. Don't come to us if you don't like it. It has information on how to do the end credits, what information to include. It has information about making sure you get permission in the form of releases, and talking about using other people's intellectual property. These are all things that you should go study and make sure that when you're putting your video together, that it comes out okay. There's a simple 5-step process that we use. This is kind of a meta process, this very high level. The first step is get organized. Depending on what your project is, what kind of video it is, you might have a lot of different pieces to put together. For instance, if you are putting together a PR video of your club in action, showing members greeting each other and shaking hands, showing people speaking, other people clapping, you might end up with several clips. Now, sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes it's just turn the camera on, get one recording, and you're done. Whatever it is, make sure you organize those, what I call those assets. Get it all together in one place where you know where it is, and it's no different than getting organized in any other way on your computer. Then you need to watch all of your content, especially if you are making a video that has pieces, multiple camera shots, different steps at different times, and you're going to put those together in a mosaic of fun activity, or something that's more complex than just turn it on for the whole speech and then turn it off. Watch it all so that you're familiar with your own content. As you watch it, you're going to start cataloging which scenes do I want, which scenes are not going to work, which scenes had a problem. Think of it as a miniature movie. If you've watched any documentaries on the making of movies, you know that they shoot the scenes usually out of sequence, and they shoot the scenes over many times. They do a lot of takes, and they get different pieces. Whatever you've done, make sure you watch it so you know what your content is. You know where the good parts are, and you know where the weak spots are. Step 3, put it all together on your timeline. And again, the timeline is just a spot on your computer editor, your video editor, where things are laid down left to right at the beginning of the time. Going right represents time passing. Make a rough cut. You don't have to finesse it at this point. You've already looked at all your content. You know pretty much which ones you want. So select the clips and the audio and the special effects that you'd like and start to lay them down into your timeline, and then take a look. If you need to, you can have other people in your club look at it and make suggestions. A rough cut is very important, especially if it's a complex project. Now that you've got your rough cut, it's time to refine it. And there's a lot of ways to refine it. Many of those steps that I showed you earlier about what editors do relates to refining, starting and stopping at different places, cutting out pieces that don't fit, moving things around, adjusting color, all of those kinds of things. You're refining your rough cut and putting more shape and more substance to it. Then you're going to refine it some more, because a good video isn't just one and done. You're going to polish it at the end, and you're going to make it shine. Just like this ring, you want to refine it. And that, again, is near the end of the process. You've got all your basic pieces in, you've got all your sounds fixed, you've got all your colors fixed, and you're just making final adjustments to make sure this is as good as it can be. That's a simple 5-step process flow for making any video. Now, some people will obviously want to know, well, what kind of editing tool do I have? Because I do a lot of video, and I've done some professional video as well, I invested and pay for the Adobe Premiere Pro. This is a high-end editing platform that is used by professionals all the way up through into the movie industry. Premiere Pro is one of the few that is used by the cinematographers and movie editors. I use it because it's powerful. I've been using it for about 5 years. I'm getting pretty good with it. It does have a high learning curve. It takes a while. It is also moderately expensive. Just to let you know, the subscription to the Adobe Creative Suite that they have a number of tools, including Adobe Premiere Pro, is about $57 a month. For a lot of people, that's just way too much to have for an editor. But if you do a lot of editing, or you think you might like to start doing a lot of editing, I think you'll find it's worth it to have the power. For those who don't want to commit to that or find that prohibitive, there are a lot of editing software tools out there. I started off making a list and recommendations, and then I realized there are so many, and each one of them has a different purpose and a different style and a different need. So my advice to you is simply Google it. Type in free video editing software, and you will get dozens of hits with people who make lists of their favorite, give you an idea of what that software is good for, to tell you what its strengths are and what its weaknesses are, who's the good audience for that. If you are a rank beginner, they'll tell you that this is really good for someone who's just starting out. They'll tell you if maybe it's a little too complicated for that. Or if you are semi-pro and you want something a little more advanced, they'll tell you that. So just Google it. At this point, before I show some actual examples and get into a demonstration on my editor, I'll stop and ask, are there any questions?
Just checking now for you, Don. I don't see any questions at this time. Don't be afraid to ask them. You have the chat or the Q&A box to put those forward.
Great. Yes, if you have a question, even if after I go on, if you have a question, something I show you or something that I present that is caused you to have a question, you need some clarification, or you want to comment, by all means, put it in the chat or the Q&A. I'm going to switch over now to a different screen. I'm going to go over and turn on my Premiere Pro and share that with you. And I'll get a confirmation from Karen that it is showing.
I see a beautiful Toastmasters meeting.
There you go. All right. The first video I want to show you is a real live meeting speech. And as I said before, this is probably going to be your bread and butter kind of video. If you're using video to promote your club, what better material than to hear your members speak? This is Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro is very busy. So trust me, I am not going to explain all these buttons that you see here. I am going to show you a before and after. Now, I got permission to use Jeff and Kathy, who are the speakers in this video. I got their permission to use it. This first one is Jeff Marute. So many of you will recognize Jeff. Jeff is the Toastmaster at this meeting. This is the Voice of Many meeting. Back in the day when we could still meet in person, this is in 2018 or 2019. And we were at Denny's at 6:15 in the morning getting ready to introduce the speech. What I want you to do is listen and take note of anything you think is worthy of an edit, something to enhance it, something to fix it, something that would benefit from an editing step. I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's only about a minute. It's a 7-minute speech, but I chopped out the middle just to show you the start and the stop. So let's get it started.
3 to 5 minute question and answer period where you represent the media and will be welcome to ask questions. Do you need the lectern? She does not need the lectern. Her speech title is From the White House, June 30th, 1972. And as soon as I move this lectern, let's welcome Kathy Smith.
I want to thank you all for taking time to come in this early this morning for this announcement from the White House. I have a few comments to make, and then I'll open up the floor for any questions. Several weeks ago, in the early morning hours of June 17th, so we thank you for your time. If you have any other questions, please send them on to the press secretary. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was the raw video from my camera. No adjustments had been made at that point. Normally what happens is I go home from the meeting, I take the data chip from the camera and put it onto my computer, and I start looking at it, thinking about what I need to do to edit it. Now I'm going to ask again for comments. If you have a comment about something you saw or something you heard that was worthy of a fix or an enhancement by the use of an editing tool, go ahead and put that in the comments or the chat, and I'll wait and see if Karen has anything.
Well, while we're waiting for them to put that in the chat, I spotted something, and now I'm curious if it can even be edited out, because I see this a lot. The cutlery sounds.
Yes. I will explain that the cutlery sound, there's 2 microphones in this room. There's a microphone on Kathy's lapel, and there's a microphone on the camera. The camera is picking up the cutlery sounds and the sounds of the meal. But you won't hear that, or you won't hear that as loud when Kathy is speaking. And you might not have noticed it, but it was very noticeable at the beginning. I agree. And that's one thing about sound is by properly using microphones, you can mitigate those kinds of environmental sounds. In this case, once she starts talking, her microphone is right next to her mouth and you can't really hear the other sounds. Anything else, Karen?
I am not seeing anything else from our participants.
Well, one of the things that I will show you some of the things that I noticed when I was, of course, doing the edit. The first was this awkward introduction. Now, I told Jeff I was going to use this, and I told him, no, I'm not criticizing you, but you got yourself into a corner. He started to introduce her, then he asked whether she needed the lectern. So when he found out she didn't want the lectern, there was this awkward pause where he had to move it right after he had introduced her. So that's an area that can be cleaned up, is those awkward silences or sessions. Something else that is not obvious to you because you don't have the perspective or that you can't see the difference. But if I tell you that there's a green cast to this room, I think you'll agree. The back wall certainly has a green tint to it. But if your eyes are a little more calibrated than the average, you will probably be able to detect that there's kind of a green cast everywhere. And that's because of the poor lighting in this room. The light fixtures and my camera did not get along in this room. I'm going to show you an enhanced version of this same 1-minute segment. It's in my timeline. And by the way, just to when I say timeline, let's look at that in more detail before I do that. Let's make Jeff a little smaller. As you can see on the screen, I've got a preview screen that I can see what the video is. I've got down here is my timeline. Time passes, and I can grab the little handle here and just, go anywhere I want at any speed. The bottom part here is the audio, and you can see these little spikes here, these little white lines. The higher that line, the louder it is. And that's, I forgot to mention, this is the area that I saw right away, was the sound levels. Let's listen. As you can see it here. This is when Jeff is talking. If you look down here, you'll see these white lines don't go very high. And Jeff's voice is pretty soft, so let's hear it again.
Her speech title is From the White House, June 30th, 1972. And as soon as I move this lectern, let's welcome Kathy Smith.
Now, you could hear it, and our ears are very good at adapting to levels. But for a good audio level, I want this little meter here, and I'll do it again for you. I want this little volume meter to come up to about a 6 on this scale. So let's look at where he was.
Her speech title is From the White House, June 30th, 1972. And as soon as...
So if I'm looking for a 6, he was only getting right up to about an 18 here. By the way, audio level numbers go backwards. A big number is quiet. A small number is loud. So that's one sound level. This big high spot here is the applause, and look at its sound level. All right, so that's 2 different sound levels. And then there's Kathy. What level is Kathy at?
Taking time to come in this early this morning for this announcement from the White House.
She's a little hotter than Jeff in terms of the audio, but still not getting up to the 6. That is easily repaired in this editor. It has an audio editing tool as well. Let's see what else we have. We have the timeline again. I can slide it around and look for things. I don't have to just watch it. It's not like a tape where I have to rewind it and wait. I can go anywhere I like. Now, to get ready for this, I produced the edited version of this, and I'm going to play it. And some of the changes are obvious and some are subtle. So let's look and see what the changes are. It's the same basic video material with some enhancements.
I want to thank you all for taking time to come in this early this morning for this announcement from the White House. I have a few comments to make, and then I'll open up the floor for any questions. Several weeks ago, in the early morning hours of June 17th, so we thank you for your time. If you have any other questions, please send them on to the press secretary. Thank you very much.
Okay, obviously quite a bit changed there. Some of it was very obvious, some was more subtle. Let's start with the obvious differences. Any comments about what you saw that was different?
We have something from Kathy. She asked, could you have adjusted the background in this instance?
Yes, I did. Very good. Let me show you. I will get my screen so that I can look at both of those, kind of just move it around. if you remember, this was the background before, and this is the background after. It's still greenish, but that's because there is a bit of an olive tint to that room. But if you look carefully, you will see that overall, it's less green. It's subtle, but it's there definitely. Anything else?
Another question, what about the background noise? Like, could that be deleted, such as the eating noises?
Okay, now when she was speaking, to be honest with you, I didn't, once she was introduced, I didn't hear any, but
I want to thank you all for taking time to come in this early this morning for this announcement from the White House. I have a few comments to make, and then I'll open the...
So you saw some of the members eating. That noise came in at the beginning of the original video when we were listening on the room microphone rather than Kathy's lavalier. Kathy's microphone is right here, very close to her mouth, and it's designed to pick her up, but it's far enough away from everybody else. Any other changes that popped out for you?
I know for myself, I noticed that zoom in. As Kathy began to speak, you zoomed in on her to make her the center of attention during the video.
Okay. Well, I did, but that was in the original as well. If you look at the original, we zoomed in on her. That was part of the original video, but it was a choice. Now, to be honest with you, this was long enough ago. I don't know whether I did that using the camera zoom or did it with an edit zoom. You can do it both ways. It's better if you do it in the camera, but that takes some planning and to get it right. That's the notion of editing in camera instead of just editing whatever the camera told you. If you can fix it in the camera, that's always better. Anything else? What about the opening? Let me play it again. Now, that's different, isn't it? Now, I admit, listening to it here, that opening music is a little loud, and that's just an artifact that normally I could fix, just pull the level down. But we started with this kind of, if you look, it's subtle, but we have this little stardust, these glowing bits of dust. You get a flash, and then boom, there's the logo. Now, Karen knows this, but not everybody knows that TI has some special rules about how to use their logo. One of those rules is you can't put the logo on top of a arbitrary background. That's why as soon as the flash came through, I turned off the dust particles. They don't show anymore. Now the logo is on an approved background. Black or one of the other colors would have worked as well. Toastmasters has some standard branding colors. You can see all those colors in the logo. You have the blue, the yellow, and the dark red. Those are the colors that would be allowed. One of the rules is to put the name of your group under the logo so that whoever's watching this realizes this isn't coming from World Headquarters. It's coming from Voice of Many Toastmasters. Plus, it's a good introduction so that somebody watching this knows, well, where's this video coming from? Maybe they didn't read the show notes. Where's it coming from? And it's only maybe 10 seconds long, if that. It doesn't take up much time. And then let's get into it opens up, and then it switches. This is the disclaimer. Don't confuse this video with anything else that's an official Toastmasters International information. Okay, then you'll notice I basically took out, I removed all of that awkward introduction where we were moving furniture to get her up to the stage. It wasn't necessary. It was something that I can put that kind of information in the show notes, and that's what I did. In the show notes, I explained that Kathy's doing a role play where she's pretending to be the press secretary for President Nixon when he announced his resignation way back in 1972. So those are things that could be put into the show notes. We didn't need them here. And by taking it out, I come up with a nice, clean, she's walking up to applause and shaking hands, and it worked out that way. The rest of it, the middle part, it's, again, a little subtle, but I want to show you, again, on the timeline. If you look here, look at the white part on the audio levels. You notice it was low, high, medium. Look at here. It's not low, high, medium anymore. It's medium, 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 medium. I leveled out the volume so that the volumes were same and up at the level. If you remember, I said -6 on the scale here. So let's look at where it ended up.
I want to thank you all for taking time.
Now, it's not exactly 6, but it never will be an exact number. But that's about where it averages out. This is a good level for a standard video on the internet. You've all seen videos where it was too high, too loud, or too soft. If you use the -6, and there's a number of other tools that you can use to make sure you have the volume right, you won't annoy anyone with a sound that's not correct. Now, the sound I got from this recording was pretty good in terms of quality. I didn't have any trouble with distortion or bad frequency response or anything like that. So that, I didn't need to do much there. When I got to the last part of her speech.
Thank you very much.
Again, we do the applause, and then right after that comes the commercial. Here's the commercial for our club. So they knew it was Voice of Many Toastmasters at the beginning. I reminded them of that in case they want to reach out to us. They saw this, they're impressed, they want to know more, put it in the back of the email or back of the video. Now, some people will stop listening and watching. They won't get this far. That's all right. The ones that do, though, they'll be rewarded with some information. And then at the end is the disclaimer again and some more things that Toastmasters want you to put in. Who made the video and who owns it. It was Voice of Many Toastmasters in 2019 in Scottsdale. So those were all enhancements to take Kathy's speech and turn it into, the speech itself was a good speech. I didn't have to change that, but I changed some volume, I changed some color, I added some enhancements in the terms of the intro, we call it, the intro and the outro. One other thing that kind of slid by pretty quick was when she's introduced, I added a graphic. So we see the date it was recorded. We see her name from the White House. The dates are a little confusing. There's 2 dates. One was actually in the title of her speech. And this is a standard add-on. This is a tool that my software provides. And there's a lot of third-party tools for doing titles, transitions, and so forth. This one was, if you watch, it has a cute little blue flash. It kind of slides in.
I want to thank you all for taking time.
And it fades away. I didn't have to program all that, although I could have. I didn't need to because I had some standard plugins, they call them, and templates. All right, before I go on to show a more complicated intro, the intro here was very simple. It was the flash and the logo and quite short. I made another one for the district that's a little more elaborate. It was fun to do and it's fun to watch. Do I have any questions before I leave this example?
We are up to date on questions right now, Don.
Okay. I want to show the next one. Many of you, if you've gone to YouTube and pulled down any of the recent videos, you will have seen this. It's what I call a video wall. Let me play it and then explain how I did it. This, as you can see, is multiple views in a grid pattern, but each of those multiple views is a video in itself. So let's watch it. So what we've got here is a complex sequence of, and I can step through it frame by frame. You can see not only do I have different videos, but the view moves. And yes, you can see each of those videos is a real video. It's not a still picture. And then it changes aspect angles and it looks at it from the other direction. And then one that's kind of face on, going up. And then zooming out where you can see all of it. Now, I will tell you that there are about 50 separate videos in this introduction. And you can be thinking, well, how did he do all that? Boy, he must be good. Well, I'm not that good. Turns out this is a standard template that I purchased. It wasn't very expensive, where all of the work of putting the pieces in the right place and moving them in concert, all of that work was done for me. All I had to do was go find my video pieces, and that, like I said, there's about 50 different videos that I drew from. Find where to put them inside the tool. The template, it's like any other template. It's got blanks for you to fill in your information. In this case, my information is a video file. But all of the rest of it was done. And it's a very effective for us because it shows Toastmasters in action. And we're all part of Toastmasters. And again, by the rule, when I use the Toastmaster logo on white, which is approved, I put District 3. This is about 15 seconds. It's a little longer than some intros, but it goes by quick and it's interesting to watch. So this is one I use on all of them. One last time for questions before I end with a very fun clip that I edited a few years ago that shows that you can have fun with videos in Toastmasters that isn't in a club setting. It's not a speech. Any other questions, Karen?
We are good so far. Thank you, Don.
Karen, I don't know if you've seen this. You might have been there for this. This was the July Jubilee annual celebration that we do every year. And this was the year that Enid Moore Crenshaw was the outgoing district director. And if you've been around the district long enough, you know that when we do these events, we have a roast. The roast of the outgoing district director. And I had a part in the roast. I did a video. Most everybody else came up and gave a little speech and told some funny stories about Enid and kidded her. As you know, a roast is poking fun at the roastee. And unlike the ones you see on TV, these are all very clean. So I did a video, and I want to show that video for you and just show you how much, well, I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun. This is the live recording, so you hear the audience reactions. So let's let her rip.
Enid, I have nothing to say, but I do have a video. Timers, it runs 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Please don't start clapping. I guarantee there is an ending worth waiting for. I don't know if you want to watch. Julius?
You're invited. invited to this year's theme, Mardi Gras. Let the good talks roll. You don't want the big eyes? This year's keynote speaker, Ed Tate, educates, energizes, and invigorizes. Our keynote speaker is Ed Tate, the 2000 International World Speaker, World Champion of Public Speaking, 2000 World Champion. And end the night with a lot of fun at Friday Fun Night, which will be a costume. I didn't practice for that. The conference kicks off Friday, May 5th with the spring conference will be held May 18th, 19th, and 20th, featuring the keynote speaker Michael Rodriguez. The spring conference will be held May 18th, 19th, and 20th. The keynote speaker is Mike Rodriguez, a world-renowned trainer, author, and our spring conference will be held May 18th, 19th, and 20th. Our keynote speaker is Mike Rodriguez, motivator, join us Saturday night for a delicious dinner followed by the much-awaited International Speech Contest, where the winner will advance to the 2018 convention located in Chicago, Illinois.
I didn't need to say a word, did I?
I don't know about you, but I had fun with that. If you are interested in learning more of the details, this could go on, this kind of a training video could go on for many hours, getting into the details of actual using the tool, showing it in action. I wanted to show you some of the ideas of what could happen, some of the ideas you can add to your club videos. You will have your own ideas. Now that you know what's possible, now that you know how effective it can be, I encourage you to reach out. Go find one of those free editors, try it. It's free. You can play with it. If you're getting more serious or you've been waiting to upgrade, I highly recommend Premiere Pro. If you have any specific questions about it, I'm at your disposal. I'll put my email and phone number in the show notes so you can reach out to me. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. Are there any questions on the call today?
I'm just giving everyone a moment to pop their questions. You did a phenomenal job tonight. Some of those little edits really made a difference, and just showcasing how simple it could be or how complicated that you would like to make it can be. You definitely gave us a good range.
Yeah. Yes, you can get very complicated. None of the things that I showed you are particularly advanced editing topics. They're just attending to detail and having fun with it. That last video with the roast was obviously using multiple clips. So going through and deciding which clips to use, putting in the little beeping sound when she made a mistake, putting in the little graphics like invigorize. You know, it was just funny. She said that, and I said, I need to put that up there with a question mark. Little things, and as you can tell, the audience appreciated it. Now, all of your videos won't be like that. They won't have that same purpose. They won't have that same vibe. Maybe they'll be more like Kathy's speech, where it's a straight Toastmaster speech that you just want to capture and show to your members. Maybe you want to put on a special meeting where you, perhaps when we get back to a normal setting, we could meet and you could have a demo meeting or a regular meeting with a camera going and catching different angles, different views, and later you put it all together into an intriguing and an interesting video to show guests and new members. However you want to do it, editing is fun, can be very effective, and again, I'm at your disposal if you have any questions at all about that. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you so much for your wisdom tonight, Don. It is always just refreshing to be able to have these resources available. And I'm looking forward to when it goes onto our YouTube channel. I'm sure you're going to have a couple of your own edits to add to this.
There you go.
We'll see if we can catch them. But I want to thank you most graciously for coming on and giving this training, because I really do believe that clubs that embrace this and start sharing what they do will definitely reap the benefits. And now we have shown them how. And that is all thanks to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Don. It has been a spectacular training.
Thank you, Karen. I'm glad to help.